Welcome back to Raised by Giants, Illuminated Insights, UFO Doomsday Cults Series Part 8. We are live. Welcome, everyone. If you're not familiar with this series is about giving you the facts and the research behind some of the most highly regarded modern day belief systems floating around the community that come directly from these UFO cults, with their theories and beliefs of extraterrestrials, the 33 Galactic Confederation of Light, landing and saving humanity, end of the world predictions that never come true, Luciferians, evil extraterrestrials, messing with humanity, trying to trick us, supposed advanced technology like time travel, channeling, telepathy, psychic communication, and cloning, the coming of a new age into the evolutionary level above human, the Great White Brotherhood of Light, New Age, UFO, extraterrestrial raptures, along with many people claiming to be reincarnations of famous historical figures. You can't be a leader of a cult if you weren't the direct incarnation of a famous person, right? If you haven't checked out the previous episodes 1 through 7 yet, I highly recommend it. There's a playlist on the channel that gives you all of the episodes in order. And if you research these cults, you'll realize that all of these belief systems and theories from these UFO cults and ideologies have been regurgitated over and over and over again, are very prominent in the community today. And the cult that we're going to be covering here today is no different. But for a recap, last week we covered a hodgepodge of UFO cults, starting with the Mark Age cult with Gloria Lee here. Gloria claimed that she was in telepathic communication contact with a being that she called JW. And JW being was an extraterrestrial from Venus. And then she gave plans to the United States government for world peace and how to build an intergalactic space station. She soon after launched a hunger strike and told others in the UFO contactee movement, right, that she would enter into a coma from her hunger strike and then be resurrected like Jesus and then continue her work with much more wisdom and knowledge. And after approximately 66 days without eating, she was taken to George Washington University Hospital and died there on December 3rd, 1962 at the age of 36 from starvation. We also covered the Universal Church of the New World Comforter with Alan Michael here, which ran for president of the United States in 1980 and in 1984 elections on the Utopian Synthesis Party ticket. And then we covered the Universe people here from 1997 with Ivo A. Benda here, which predicted a cosmic catastrophe and evacuation of people to another planet by extraterrestrial ships, which obviously didn't happen. Then pulled the switcheroo and sent the Ministry of Defense in Slovakia letters asking them if they had plans to defend against evil lizard people that may invade, with detailed plans on how to defend ourselves. And then we covered the Joy of Satan cult, which was a fantastic cult burrito. Stealing information from Zecharia Sitchin and Anton LaVey and mixing it into a new ideology, incorporating all the different belief systems and ideologies, and claimed that Satan was an extraterrestrial as well as Inky, and together they created Earth and human beings. Welcome everyone in the chat. How's it going over here? Nina the Mystic, what's happening? Gigi, good to see you. Yeah, so I have a really good show for you guys here today. Not my standard time, but this week we're going to be covering the earliest of UFO cults in the United States, which in the beginning in UFO Doomsday Cults Part 1, I thought was the Seekers UFO cult here with Dorothy Martin and Dr. Loghead. that claimed that the Earth was going to be destroyed. Well, the United States was going to be destroyed by a huge natural disaster in December of 1954, December 21st of 1954. That didn't happen. They pushed the date back. And then Leon Fessinger infiltrated the cult, which was a psychiatrist, and then created the term cognitive dissonance. If you're interested in more about the Seekers cult in 1953, that's when it started. Then check out UFO Doomsday Cults Part 1. But I was wrong about this cult being the first UFO cult in the United States. The first UFO cult goes further back into the 30s, and it's the cult of I Am that's considered to be the earliest of UFO cults, and is really where all of this New Age thought and ideas come from, with their influences literally everywhere. I've spent a lot of time researching this cult because it's really important to understand this and all the ties that it has to almost everything that we hear today, which is the cult of I Am, which is the original Ascended Master teachings, religious movement founded in the early 1930s with Guy Ballard here and his wife Edna Ballard in Chicago, Illinois, which was really an offshoot from other movements and ideologies of the time period, including Edgar Cayce and Elena Blavatsky and others, which then created offshoots and inspirations for many groups and organizations afterwards. But we're going to get into that here later on. So according to the group's teachings, Ascended Masters are believed to be individuals who have left the reincarnation cycle of re-embodiment. The I Am cult calls itself Christian because do you really know anything if you're not talking about Christianity, right? Because Jesus is considered to be an important Ascended Master. And this cult is also a very patriotic cult. See that American flag in the background there? They had American flags all over everywhere during any of their speeches or any of their presentations that they were giving, right? And also because the Ascended Master, Saint Germain, is believed to have inspired and guided the United States of America Declaration of Independence and the construction according to the ideology of the I Am cult. And Guy Ballard's information came to him directly from Saint Germain, and Guy and Edna were sent by Saint Germain to save America from impending doom. Right, so Guy Ballard here he is. He started his career as a psychic medium and in hypnotherapy as well, which really would come in handy later on in the formation of this cult. And Edna, I'm going to get the picture of Edna up here. Here's Edna. She worked at an occult bookstore ran by her sister called The Philosopher's Nook, and also wrote and edited newsletters called The American Occultist, and developed this whole theory called the Diamond Self, which was the idea that we're all connected and that we're all one and we're all God, and which would later be parodied by many in the community, with the biggest being the Law of One material, also known as the Raw material, which came out several decades later in 1981. So Edna here was writing her occult newsletter while Guy was being investigated for fraud, for selling stocks from mines that he knew there wasn't anything in them. And then he was indicted in Chicago in 1929, and then fled the state and went to California and you got to remember that this was the beginning of the Great Depression, and all of the law of attraction stuff was going on in California. Positive thought movement that you could take away your poverty and your bad luck by creating a good, harmonious mental state, right? Which I agree with some of that, but not when you're fooling people and misguiding people with nonsense. You have to take action behind your thought process. So what happened is Guy Ballard here settled down in California at the base of Mount Shasta, right? We've covered a few cults so far that talk about Mount Shasta. The Love is One cult moved to Mount Shasta for a short period of time. And this idea that there's a lost Atlantean movement inside of Mount Shasta, which all of the theories in the mythology of Mount Shasta come from the book called A Dweller on Two Planets by Frederick Spencer Oliver here, which was published in 1905. And Frederick claimed that a being from Atlantis called Pythos telepathically communicated with him and helped him write the book through automatic writing, including such things as anti-gravity, powered aircraft and submarines, television, wireless phones, aerial water generators, air conditioners, high-speed railroads, and describes that Pylos, his final incarnation in the 19th century America, where his Atlantean karma played itself out. And in that carnation, as Walter Pearson, a gold miner and part of the occult, traveled to Venus on a light body while his physical form remained at the temple inside Mount Shasta, and averts to a lost village of Lemuria hidden inside of Mount Shasta. All this stuff came from this original book, A Dweller of Two Planets, which is really important. Remember this for later on in this video, because this is a really important thing to mention here. So this, along with others in the community, with this book written, The Dweller of Two Planets, right, and other groups promoting the idea of the lost continent of Atlantis and Lemuria being inside of Mount Shasta, was the reason that Guy Ballard set up shop at Mount Shasta. Guy claimed that there was a group of people at Mount Shasta called the Brotherhood of Mount Shasta, which sounds a lot like the Great White Brotherhood that we've heard many of these cults that we've covered already talk about, and also Elena Blavatsky wrote about as well. So while at Mount Shasta, Guy Ballard here claimed to have met the Brotherhood of Mount Shasta while hiking on the mountain looking for this rumored group, right? He claimed to have been instructed by a man that called himself Saint Germain. Here's an illustration of Saint Germain, which is very popular nowadays. And Saint Germain is apparently a ascended master from the 18th century that many theosophists have talked about prior to the I Am cult. So Saint Germain takes Guy Ballard here all around the world and teaches him all sorts of fantastical things about life and existence here. Tells Guy that the ascended masters can phase in and out of reality at will. They can take on any form that they want. And also, Saint Germain gave Guy Ballard visions of the future in America from 1930 forward, that the evil forces were going to be destroyed and that peace would reign on earth. And well, that didn't work out very well, did it? Didn't turn out very well for Guy Ballard here and Saint Germain, right? But it also sounds pretty familiar, right? Guy also claims to have gone to He claims to have gone to Washington, D.C. with this etheric version of Saint Germain to meet white hats. We didn't call them white hats, but that's essentially what they were, to meet this secret government of light at the White House, which now would be called white hats. Okay, so during this time, Guy and Edna here had been communicating with each other during all of Guy's travels with the etheric translucent Saint Germain that only Guy Ballard can see or have any contact with or talk to. Right, and Guy made his way back to Chicago, where he met up with Edna here. Their cult burrito is really coming to fruition here. They got all their toppings together. Guy Ballard's been out there traveling the world with ascended masters. Edna here has been running the occult and mystery study groups and reading Elena Blavatsky and Edgar Cayce. Well, I don't think Edgar Cayce was around during that time, but you get what I mean. She was reading all of the different old occult books and creating her own philosophy and her own studies of what to incorporate into their cult later on. Oh, and I forgot to mention, too, that Guy Ballard, before he went on his mission trip with the dead and deceased ethereal spirit of Saint Germain, he woke up in his bed one morning and found that a golden card had been placed on his nightstand and said to be at Mount Shasta at a certain time. And he went up there. The only explanation for this was that it was a message from Saint Germain. So he went up on the mountain at the instructed time, but instead of encountering Saint Germain right away, he encountered a panther. Yes, a real life Black Panther. And apparently Guy just radiated love at it and sent it good energy. And the panther claimed and it calmed down. And then he started rolling around and playing with the panther. And then Saint Germain showed back up and brought him cupcakes. I kid you not. Ascended Master Saint Germain showed up and brought Guy Ballard here some cupcakes on Mount Shasta after play fighting with this real life panther, and said that Guy Ballard had passed the test, and that is really when they started their worldwide quest.
Jesus Christ.
So Edna and Guy got their cult burrito all prepped with all the amazing toppings. Oh yeah, cult burrito time. Are you hungry for the truth? Make yourself a cult burrito. Study every single New Age theory out there. Alternative religion, ancient astronaut theory, extraterrestrial hypothesis that you can possibly get your hands on. Go to New Age centers, visit your local crystal shops, meet with spiritual gurus. Compile all of their ideologies, mix it into your own version of Christianity. Make yourself a cult burrito. The only way to feed yourself the truth. That's right. Big and yummy cult burrito for the I Am Cult, Guy Ballard and Edna Ballard. So they started up their Saint Germain Press in 1934, and they published a book called Unveiled Mysteries. Right here, which looks very similar to A Dweller on Two Planets. He even ripped off the letter stamping on there. Almost identical. Boom. Ridiculous. which is going to come into play here a little bit later. So the cult burrito has been made, and it's so good. The book was a success, mostly within the racist and anti-Semitic communities of the time, though, which I wouldn't call a success. So Unveiled Mysteries was published under the pseudonym Godfrey Ray King. Hold on, I got the... Oh, I guess I don't have it. But the pseudonym is an important thing that's going to come into play here later on, because there's a lot of things that's going on that we're going to get into. So these books weren't published under their names, so they couldn't have claimed to have wrote them, right? But hey, they're all channeled messages from Saint Germain, right? That's all that matters. So buy our books. So they held their first gathering in Chicago in 1934. Right? And I guess you could call it a gathering or a conference or something, where Edna told the group about their past lives, which, if you don't know from all the other UFO cults that we've studied so far, you got to have a fantastical past life, right? To really hammer home the ideology that they've all lived multiple past lives together, and that they were all here for a mission to save America and bring about a new government. Yes, Guy and Elena Ballard's cult wanted to overthrow the government. And the audience ate it up, hook, line, and sinker, right? And Edna started going by the name of Lotus Ray King. The I Am name wasn't established later until their next book, which became a series of 12 books, which was called The Magic Presence in 1935. And which everyone should really know where the I Am came from, that I am statement. It came from the Bible when Moses meets with God in Exodus 3:14, when God said to Moses, I am that I am. And Moses is known to be the lawgiver in the Bible. So the group teaches that the mighty I Am presence is God existing in each and every person's higher self, and within a light that's called the violet flame. It's generated by the I Am presence, and here is a depiction of the violet flame. Hold on, let me find it. Yep, right here. Right here's a depiction of the violet flame from their paintings and drawings within the cult. And they claim that this violet flame may surround each person who calls forth the action of the Holy Spirit for expression of mercy or forgiveness. The group believes that by tapping into the I Am presence and the violet flame will create more justice, peace, and harmony and love, and will work to rid the world of evil and help get over your difficulties in life, right? One of the first mentions of the I Am presence was in a book that came from a gentleman called Ballard T. Spalding, which is called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 1 in 1924, right here. And that Christ consciousness is described in this book, that the I Am presence by Spalding is going to bring about Christ consciousness, and that the United States has to accept this Christ consciousness from the ascended masters to evolve into a new version of itself. Which I'm not saying that that doesn't exist, or that Spalding wasn't correct with this, or that Christ consciousness doesn't exist. I'm just saying that Guy and Edna Ballard ripped off this guy's book, right? The life and teachings of the Ascended Masters, well, of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 1, right? And ripped off his ideology to create their own ideology, right? So the spiritual goal of the I Am cult is the teachings that through a process of self-perfection, the believer in the cult, in the teaching of the I Am cult, may obtain the perfect condition of the saints or become ascended masters themselves physically in a physical body. And the process of attaining these results includes getting in alignment with the I Am presence, with the help of ascended masters, Jesus and Saint Germain, which nobody can see but Guy Ballard and his son, and apparently his wife. And with the strict devotion to Jesus and Saint Germain in the form of gratitude, meditation, invocations, and affirmation, all of which are said to amplify the energetic presence of the violet flame, resulting in the desired positive changes in one's life, right? You heard a twin flame. Well, get ready for the violet flame, right? Just call on Saint Germain, do your incantations and your affirmations, and you'll be surrounded with the violet flame of love and ascend into heaven physically in your physical body. All of your problems will be solved. No need to do anything else. Just sit back and relax. Which sounds very familiar as well. How's everyone in the chat? We free? How's it going? GG, what's happening? No bull truth. Good to see you, brother. More like book, line, and sinker. We free. What do you think of Gematria and Helena Blavatsky? I'm going to do a series on her and a lot of the people that influence theosophy and theology later on, after I have completed the UFO Doomsday Cult series. Once I feel satisfied that I've covered everything that I could possibly cover within these UFO Doomsday Cults, then I'm going to move on later on and then do a series about people who influenced the New Age movement, influenced ufology and stuff like that. So once I'm done with these UFO Doomsday Cults, I'm going to start that series up. Lakeside Laura, hi, good to see you. Hi, Mary Wins, good to see you as well. Yes, that's going to be a really good series as well. But not until I'm done with exposing these UFO Doomsday Cults and all of their ideologies. So I really don't have a problem with affirmations and stuff like that. You know, who doesn't like a good affirmation, right? It's proven to help. It's helped me, right? But strict adherence to Jesus and Saint Germain that aren't even proven to exist, the ascended masters, and this idea that no action is required. You just sit back and relax and let Saint Germain and Jesus or whoever take care of all of your problems is nonsense, right? You know, Saint Germain and the ascended masters got you. They got you. They're going to take care of all your financial difficulties, and they're going to help you ascend into the new evolutionary level above human physically. Wish I changed it up here a little bit later on. So a little bit more on the Ascended Masters. The movement believes in the existence of the Ascended Masters, a hierarchy of supernatural beings that include the original Ascended Masters, such as Jesus, Maitreya, and Saint Germain, in addition to a dozen more beyond the original 20 masters of the ancient wisdom that Helena Blavatsky wrote about, along with others that Guy and Edna just made up. They made up a bunch of Ascended Masters with made up names as well, right? So these Ascended Masters are believed to be humans that have lived in a succession of reincarnations in physical bodies, or cosmic beings that originated from the great central sun of light in the beginning of all time. And over time, those ascended masters passed through various embodiments, became highly advanced souls, and are able to move beyond the cycles of reincarnation and karma. And later, they climbed up that ascension ladder to become immortal beings that can phase in and out of reality and can take on any person that they want to take on, right? Ascended masters are believed to communicate to humanity through certain trained messengers per Blavatsky and others, including Guy and Edna Ballard here, right? These are the only ones that can communicate with the Ascended Masters, Saint Germain, and Jesus. And you have to adhere to their philosophy and their theology and follow the cult and every single word and buy all their books so that you can ascend into heaven physically. And also, Guy Ballard here, just like all the other UFO cults, claimed to be the reincarnation of George Washington. Nothing like making your cult super patriotic by claiming to be the reincarnation of George Washington. And also along with a Egyptian priest and a French musician. How many of these cult leaders have we covered so far that claim to be incarnations of famous historical figures, right? The Mambro here from the Order of the Solar Temple. Which was in Switzerland. He claimed to be the reincarnation of Moses and Akhenaten. And then later on, famous saints throughout history. Marshall Applewhite from the Heaven's Gate cult and his shepherd Bonnie Nettles claimed to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and Mother Mary and the two witnesses from the book of Revelation that will bring about the apocalypse. Ruth Norman here from the Aetherist Academy cult also claimed to be Jesus and Mother Mary from the Bible. And then later on, Ruth claimed to have lived over 200 past lives, including ones from Atlantis and Lemuria. And then we got Amy Carlson here from the Love is One cult, claimed to have lived over 500 past lives, including the past lives of Joan of Arc, Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra, Amelia Earhart, and also, of course, too, Jesus Christ. She was the direct embodiment of God and Jesus Christ. God himself in the flesh, in the form, in a physical body, in the form of Amy Carlson. And now we got the cult of I Am, back in the 30s, really starting this whole past life and reincarnation stuff with Guy Ballard here claiming to be the reincarnation of George Washington, which really fits in perfectly with their whole narrative with being the savior of America, right? So just like all of the other cults we've covered so far, if you were a follower of the I Am cult, you had to separate yourself from your family and friends, be vegetarian, and guess what else? You had to kill your pets if you're a part of this cult. Yes, Guy and Edna Ballard told their followers that animals were created from black magic, and it was better just to put them down, which resulted in a lot of the followers killing their pets to adhere to the I am cult's principles, right? Strict adherence, I tell you. So strict that you must kill all of your pets because they're of Satan. So, along with the violet flame here that you activate through invocation and praying to Saint Germain to activate, that'll bring peace upon the earth, they also introduced a concept that people will be very familiar with that was called twin rays, which is exactly what twin flames are today. It's just been renamed. The other half of your soul that you need to be complete. And this is where it all started. All the twin flame stuff. It all came from Guy and Edna Ballard here from the I Am cult. But it wasn't called twin flames. It was called twin rays. So obviously, Guy and Edna Ballard were twin rays, right? With claiming to have lived several past lives together. Guy claiming to have lived as George Washington, and Edna claiming to be Joan of Arc. Oh my God, we got another Joan of Arc reincarnation. I thought Amy Carlson was Joan of Arc, but I guess definitely the I Am cult precedes all the other cults. So I guess Edna Ballard here was the first reincarnation of Joan of Arc. But wouldn't Joan of Arc be the first reincarnation of Joan of Arc? I don't know. But come on, everyone. Let's save the soul of America. Right? How's everyone in the chat? Boom, boom, Lakeside Laura. Free will, we free, says who said an alien invasion would bring us all together. I believe that was a president. I can't think of who that was right now. First thing that popped in my mind was Eisenhower, but I know it wasn't Eisenhower that said that. It was one of the presidents. Son of Clay, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here. So what Guy and Edna Ballard did was they packed up from Chicago and they took the show on the road. But there was a problem. Guy and Edna Ballard was broke, even though Guy had been scamming people by saying that there was a bunch of mines in California that he was going to dig in that had gold in them, knowing that there wasn't any mines and wasn't any gold in any of these mines. He ran out of money. So what do you do when you're broke? You sell something that people can't see. There's no proof or evidence of, right? But that also can't be disproven, just like a lot of people do today in this community. I think Edna here was like, did you forget to mention in our gathering today that that you need to tell people to give us donations, that we need to be having donations? Saint Germain said that the only way that we can ascend into heaven is if you give us a lot of money. And I think I forgot to mention this earlier. That guy also claimed to have an ascension chair. He had an ascension chair that people could sit in that was made out of gold and help people ascend into heaven, which sounds very similar to Montauk, right? The Montauk chair. So the very first class on this tour to save America was in Philadelphia in 1934, where Guy and Edna Ballard channeled the Ascended Master Saint Germain for all of the audience to see. And they said that there were evil forces inside the United States and that they needed to be destroyed. And the only way to rid the United States of these evil forces was to repeat Saint Germain's, the Ascended Master, his decrees and affirmations, and told the crowd that you'll have a life of abundance if you follow Saint Germain's teaching, right? But there's a catch. Saint Germain also said that you can't receive this life of abundance if you're not willing to give, right? You got to give up the money. Give us all the money. So, just like all the other UFO cults, they have to put themselves up on a pedestal to make themselves look better than everyone else by saying that they're the chosen ones, right? That they're the ones in communication with the Ascended Masters. Guy and Edna and their son Donald are the only ones that can receive messages from the Ascended Masters, even though they ripped off many people, everyone's work that came before them, right? So what they did is they passed out envelopes at a lot of their speaking events that said, I am love donations, or no, I am love gifts on them. And they took donations like that, right? Exactly like what some churches do today. And these love gifts were said to open up channels for the followers of I Am to receive a mountain of blessings from the Ascended Masters, right? I guess the Ascended Masters are really concerned with money and our physical monetary system here on Earth, I suppose. But what do you know what else these Ascended Masters are concerned with? They're concerned with the soul of America. So in every one of these lectures, like I mentioned earlier, Guy and Edna had American flags up so everyone could see all around the place. Very patriotic. Saint Germain also said that the red in the American flag would turn to gold when the Ascended Masters finally took control of the United States. Guy and Edna wanted to overthrow the government of the United States in the name of the Ascended Masters, with members of this I Am cult calling Guy the chief and commander of the United States. The gold thing is very interesting, and we're going to get into that a little bit later on. How's it going, everyone in the chat? Fireflies in the lighthouse. It's a rough economy up there, yeah. Yes. All right. So what they did with their tour to save America from itself led them to Washington, D.C. with a 10-day class in 1935 where tragedy happened and the treasurer of the cult was stepping outside of the car and then was hit by another car and fractured his leg and skull. And then started calling out Edna and Guy. But what have we learned about dissenters or detractors of these cults? What did the cult leaders do? They claimed that they were possessed by evil forces and were working for the dark side, right? Which is exactly what Guy and Edna Ballard did. That the treasurer, which was named Henry, that got struck by the car and was in the hospital, got possessed by an evil entity, because after he recovered from his injuries, he started denouncing the entire cult and their activities, which is classic. You know, everyone that disagrees with us, that disagrees with Saint Germain and his teachings, and that don't read all of our books, are evil and are possessed. But our books, don't just buy one of them, right? You have to buy all of them to get the clear and concise messages of Saint Germain. So how Guy and Edna received a lot of their money was sending out letters to people in the mail with promises of ascension into heaven, into the next level, which this is going to catch up with them later on. But in 1938, while in Chicago, after a 10-day lecture, Guy was in the vestibule or the lobby. I think the vestibule is the lobby of a church. But anyway, Guy was in the lobby or the vestibule, whichever one, signing books from the audience with claiming that Saint Germain was at his side, imbuing the books with the powers of the ascended masters, right? Guy gets served with a paper of a $10,000 lawsuit for fraud. Around the years of 1924 to 1925, the plaintiff had known Ballard, and Guy Ballard defrauded her of thousands of dollars in what was called the Cottonwood Trust, claiming that he was going to drain a lake in California and mine it for gold, and scammed hundreds of people out of $500,000. Guy had been rolling in the money. Guy Ballard here, been rolling in the money for a really long time, scamming people before he even started this I Am cult. So, Guy and Edna here, what do you do when you get caught up in some nonsense? What do you do when you get caught up with some stuff that you can't explain? Hit them with the switcheroo. Are your cult members not following orders? Are they starting to have a mind of their own? Hit them with the switcheroo. Tell them that higher beings have a new mission for them. Tell them that they are the incarnation of famous historical figures. Tell them about the new revelations that only you know about, given directly to you from the higher beings. Tell them anything but the truth. Hit them with the switcheroo. Guy and Edna Ballard hit him with the switcheroo and claimed that the only reason that they got served with this lawsuit, this $10,000 lawsuit, was because Saint Germain was away on European business. Saint Germain was away and was not with Guy Ballard during the time that he was served with this $10,000 lawsuit for scamming people, claiming that he was going to drain a lake in California and mine it for gold. But wasn't Saint Germain with him in the lobby of this conference, signing autographs in his books and imbuing the books with the Ascended Master's energy into it? Sounds pretty fishy to me, but that old switcheroo hit him with the switcheroo. So Saint Germain came back the next day, the etheric Saint Germain that only Guy Ballard can see and communicate with, that he channels through, right? And Saint Germain called the man that was filing the $10,000 lawsuit a liar. The etheric mystical Saint Germain that only Guy Ballard can see called this man that served him with a $10,000 lawsuit a liar. So this lawsuit against Guy was supposed to go to trial in January of 1940. But this didn't happen because in the middle of the night on July 14th, 1949, Guy Ballard died of a heart attack or heart complications, which is normally caused by a heart attack. But that didn't stop Edna. That did not stop Edna Ballard. And she didn't even tell her followers of the cult that of the cult of I Am that he had died until January 1st, 1940, almost 6 months later. But she came out and said that he ascended into heaven. And they believed her. A lot of the cults didn't even mourn Guy Ballard. A lot of the cult members of the I Am cult following didn't mourn Guy Ballard because they believed that he ascended into heaven physically. That he wasn't here, that his body just transformed into a new being and he ascended up into heaven with Saint Germain. But this whole thing really put a wrench in their whole ideology or physical ascension of the cult that they had been teaching, that you ascend in a physical body into heaven. So guess what she had to do? She had to hit him with a switcheroo. Hit him with a switcheroo. Are your cult members not following orders? Are they starting to have a mind of their own? Hit them with the switcheroo. Tell them that higher beings have a new mission for them. Tell them that they are the incarnation of famous historical figures. Tell them about the new revelations that only you know about, given directly to you from the higher beings. Tell them anything but the truth. Hit them with the switcheroo. And Edna Ballard hit him with the switcheroo. So she switched up all the teachings and ideology of the cult, as you do when some kind of seemingly unexplainable controversy happens. She started saying that you ascend into heaven now when you die. Like you die a normal physical death, but your spirit or your consciousness goes to a higher level and join the ascended master, Saint Germain and Jesus. And normal people don't do that because you have to follow the messages and the channeled books from Saint Germain and the teachings of the I Am cult, which is exactly what Marshall Applewhite from the Heaven's Gate cult also did. He had to switch up the ideology of his cult whenever Bonnie Nettles died in 1984. Well, she got diagnosed with brain cancer in 1984, but then died in 1985. Right? They switched up their beliefs as well into a spiritual ascension. Be free. I like your interludes. Yeah, thank you. King James, what's going on, brother? Switcheroo is awful convenient. Yes, it is. GG, no, I didn't cut my hair. I just styled it a little bit more for this amazing show on the I Am cult. Slicked it back. Used some gel. Yes, so in September of 1935, World War II officially kicked off. Germany invaded Poland, and there was a lot of widespread fear about a Nazi Fifth Reich establishing in the U.S. or a Nazi fifth column in the United States. And in 1935, the FBI began receiving letters from people concerning the I Am cult activity. In 1940, a man named T. Ray Holsinger wrote to J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, to tell him about this I Am cult and their activities, and that Russians were involved, and that even Hitler himself was a member of this I Am cult, which the only relating factors that they had that Hitler, because Hitler was apparently a vegetarian, and everyone that was a part of this IM cult was also a vegetarian. So they're correlating two different things there and claiming that Hitler was a part of this cult. So later in 1940, in July of 1940, Edna and her son Donald and 22 leaders of the IM cult was indicted on mail fraud charges. Remember earlier whenever I said that they were collecting a lot of their money through the mail, they were sending out pamphlets and claiming that if people donated to their cult that they would ascend into the next, they would ascend into heaven, and Saint Germain would bless them and their lives would be perfect. They would no longer have any problems in their life. The Los Angeles Times reported that the IM cult had collected $3 million since its inception. The indictment said that a large amount of people were defrauded through false representation, promises. It stated that the defendants purchased all of the cult's materials, books, magazines, pictures, articles, and then were induced to become followers and give money donations and valuable possessions to Edna and Guy because of the promises that were stated by them that never came true. They're getting into deep waters here, this IM cult. Hold on, I gotta find a picture of. Oh yeah, here's a picture of all their books that they wrote. And you had to buy all of the books, because if you didn't buy all of the books, then you wouldn't get the direct messages from Saint Germain. Had to have them all. So also in 1941, the Ballards were sued for copyright infringement by the family and estate of Frederick Spencer Oliver that I mentioned earlier for ripping off his book, A Dweller of Two Planets. This one that looked almost identical to Guy Ballard's book. That in this Dweller of Two Planets book was published in 1905. But the lawsuit was dismissed for failure to state cause of action. Right? District Judge Dawkins quoted the original foreword to Oliver's book in its entirety, wherein Oliver emphasized that he was not the author, but had channeled the book from the spirit of a previously deceased person with the intent of preserving and conveying the story and the teachings of that person's world. And the book cannot be copyrighted. Right? Not as the author. So Judge Dawkins pointed out that the Ballards had stated they were using similar methods of channeled material to write their book, and that in itself wasn't enough to uphold the action of the court. So apparently channeled messages from the ascended masters like Saint Germain or Jesus or any of the other 20 ascended masters that are reportedly in contact with humanity can't be copywritten. So you can just rip off anybody's books that are claimed to be channeled material, incorporate it into your own thoughts and ideas, and write your own books, and then make thousands, if not millions of dollars, and because the information can't be copywritten because it came from a channeled deceased person. Right? So if you're going to write a book on the channeled materials, then you better put your name on it. Right? If not, then it can't be copywritten. Just a helpful tip there. So Guy and Edna, well, with Edna Ballard and her son Donald being charged with 18 counts of mail fraud in 1942, the presiding judge instructed the jury not to consider the truth or falsity of their religious beliefs, but only whether the Ballards sincerely believed the claims or did not believe the claims. And the jury found them guilty of mail fraud. But the Ninth Circuit Court overturned the conviction on the grounds that the judge improperly excluded the credibility of the religious beliefs from consideration. And the government appealed to the Supreme Court in United States versus Ballard. The Supreme Court, in a 5-1 landmark decision, held that the question of whether the Ballards believed the religious claims should not have been submitted to the jury, and reprimanded the case back to the Ninth Circuit, which affirmed the fraud conviction. Then the Ninth Circuit Court later found that the court did not go as far as to hold the validity or the veracity of religious doctrine, and it cannot be inquired into federal court. On a second appeal, the Supreme Court in 1946 dismisses the fraud convictions on the grounds that women were improperly excluded from the jury panel, and the case was ultimately dismissed. It was a back and forth dismissal, guilty verdict. And listen, I get why, because this brings a whole load of stuff into question here, and the exercising of your religious freedom. Ultimately, I understand why the fraud charges got overturned and the conviction dismissed, because the jury, were there to decide if their religious beliefs were true or false. And if they decided that it was false and they found a guilty verdict, then that means that they could decide if anyone's religious beliefs are true or false, including Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, or any other religion. And that violates the First Amendment. But at what point does religion and spiritualism and these movements cross the line of being scam artists, if they ever do? Right? And that's a really important question to ask, because it seems like if it's a commonly accepted belief system or religion, then it seems like they can do whatever they want. Right? So despite the ultimate dismissal of the court case, it wasn't until 1954 that the organization's right to use the mail was restored, and the Internal Revenue Service revoked their tax exemption status in 1941, stating that it did not recognize the movement as a religion. A court ruling in 1957 overturned that ruling of the IRS and reestablished the group's tax exemption status. Now, as soon as this, right, Edna Ballard picked up and moved the branch, the I Am cult, and the branch of the St. Germain Press to her residence in Santa Fe, where she recorded live before an audience, where thousands of more messages were given to audience, and that she said were from the Ascended Masters. But the times of sold out and packed out theaters and speaking events were over. With all this bad press that they had accumulated from the lawsuits, there was a lot of infighting within the cult to separate. People were going their separate ways, doing all their, they were breaking off from the I Am cult. Hold on, I gotta bring this video in here really quick. because it's important for later on. So Edna then creates a radio broadcasting studio in Colorado, but it burnt down in 1952 with a member of the cult, Gerald Dean, creating his offshoot cult called the Bridge to Freedom, the exact same year that the Colorado radio station burnt down, right? And that's just a coincidence right there. So this new cult ran by Gerald Dean, Bridge to Freedom, caught the attention of a gentleman named Mark Prophet, who would later go on to create his own movement called the Summit Lighthouse, and would marry a woman by the name Elizabeth Clare Wolfe, whose mother was an avid reader of the I Am cult activity and owned their discourses. The Summit Lighthouse would later be known as the Church Universal Triumphant, with Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Right, I'm sure you guys are familiar with who Elizabeth Clare Prophet is. I have a video that I put together of Elizabeth Clare Prophet. Let me get it up here. Hold on, I gotta redo the name of this. Okay. Get the present. How's everyone in the chat? Everyone good? Video file. Sorry, I forgot to have this set up earlier. I was really excited. Where is it? Here it is.
And protected fully by the Holy Spirit, He will illumine us as He promised He would do. He promised that He would come to us, that the Comforter would come, the Holy Spirit, and bring all those things to our remembrance which He had originally taught to us.
Newspaperman Sullivan says it's not the church's religious practice alone that bothers him. It's what he and others in Montana believe may be hidden.
Wait, did she just say the Comforter? She just said that the New World Comforter was going to come. I thought Alan Michael was a New World Comforter. He's already been here. He created the Church of the New World Comforter.
They are not to be trusted. They are a cult. Any cult is dangerous. They are a means to an end organization.
So with the coming of Saint Germain's dispensation for the Aquarian Age, we had the sponsorship of America, you have the sponsorship of Australia, and many freedom movements have come forth. His aura, his presence. This map.
See, they're using that famous depiction of Saint Germain that the I Am cult created. Apparently, the artist that drew these pictures of Saint Germain, and he did one of Saint Germain, one of Jesus, and I think one of another Ascended Master. But apparently, the Ascended Masters came down and sat for this audience, for this artist to be able to draw them. Saint Germain and Jesus just came down in physical bodies and sat in front of this artist so that he could draw them.
Master, if you can really comprehend the meaning of the Master, is so profound and has such attainment, his aura fills the planet. And he does keep the action of freedom in every type of situation, be it education or science. As you know, he is the father of that science.
The issue is not whether or not they're nice people, but where are they being led by a person like Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who claims to not only speak for Jesus, but Buddha too. And she is an absolute authoritarian leader that exercises total control over her followers.
We are a wonderful example of trying to make a New Age religion work.
Cult or church, Elizabeth Clare Prophet has the last word.
Did you catch that? We are a tremendous example of a New Age religion.
I don't consider myself a cult because I am not dominating my members. I lead my people to the heart of the I am that I am who appeared to Moses, the individualized presence.
The I am that I am, taken directly from the I am cult. This lady here, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with her and have seen her before.
Of God that we commune with. People who believe one way in this country do not give the freedom to others to believe in another way. We have worked very hard on racial bigotry in this country, but we have not worked hard on religious persecution.
Yes, that was Elizabeth Clare Prophet. And there were so many videos for me to go through to put that video together, but Elizabeth Clare Prophet in her church basically claimed predictions of a bunch of apocalyptic doomsday rhetoric, claiming that nuclear war was imminent, and the church established a community in Montana where they built a series of underground fallout shelters in March of 1990. Church members hid within these shelters in response to Prophet's announcement that a nuclear attack on the United States was about to occur. And what do you know? That didn't happen, right? Did not happen. So Edna Ballard's had a brief illness, and her death was reported to have occurred in her Chicago home on February 10th, 1971. And the cult did exactly what they did with Guy Ballard's death. They said that Edna had ascended into heaven with the ascended masters, Saint Germain, right? And the I Am cult is still active today, but with a smaller scale, with the Saint Germain Foundation headquarters in Illinois. And there are approximately 300 local groups worldwide under several variations. The names I Am Sanctuary, I Am Temples, and other similar titles. And as of 2007, the organization states that its purpose is spiritual, educational, and practical, right? And they also opened up a school, and the Saint Germain Press of the Saint Germain Foundation publishes the historical books and related artwork and audio recordings of the Ballard's teachings, and a monthly magazine available by subscription titled The Voice of God. No, the Voice of the I Am. The Voice of the I Am, right? And it's been estimated that Saint Germain Press has printed and put into circulation over 1 million books. The Saint Germain Foundation presents the I Am Come pageant every August at Mount Shasta, and has done it each year since 1950. And the pageant is open to the public at no cost, and describes the pageant as a portrayal of the life of the beloved Jesus. So they switched it up again. Not Saint Germain anymore. It's Jesus, right? Focusing on the miracles of Jesus and truth and healing and the example of the Ascension which Jesus left to the world. So we can really see all of the modern day influences with this cult all over the place, with gurus, New Age teachers, spiritual teachers, all tout this I am rhetoric, regardless if you believe it works for you or not. It's important to know where this stuff comes from, right? And unfortunately, it came from a bunch of scam artists. It came from a bunch of scam artists, Guy and Edna Ballard. Scamming people out of their money, telling them that if they donate, they're going to ascend into heaven physically, promises of being rich and having abundance if they buy their books and follow their cult teachings, right? But not just one book, all the books. Read all the material and have unwavering devotion to the cult. Don't question their ideology, because they're the only ones that have this information given directly to them from the Ascended Masters, per Guy Ballard. And give us all your money to drain a lake, to mine it for gold in California that I'm never going to do. And also their ideology of ascension is used by all of the ascended master teachers and religions today, right? Spiritual movements and gurus talk about this stuff all the time, right? And eventually, Saint Germain turned into, within the community, that Saint Germain had a financial trust, that he is going to wipe out all the debt on the planet and reissue the gold standard and get rid of all the banks and usher in this new age of humanity, right? I'm sure that sounds really familiar. And that's what he was talking about with changing the red on the flag to gold. That's when Saint Germain takes over the government of the United States with the white hats that are inside the government with his financial trust and wipes out all the debt and reissues the gold standard and get rid of all the banking families and ushers in this new golden age of humanity. Really, if you just replace Donald Trump and JFK Jr. with the QAnon nonsense, with Guy and Edna Ballard here, they're practically identical. And that concludes our UFO Doomsday Cult, Part 8. How's it going, Scotty boy? Scotty boy! Fireflies in the Lighthouse, Saint Germain, the musician, is real, and it's pretty good too. Oh no, it's Saint Germain was a real person. He was a real person. He's playing 5D chess. That's right, Saint Germain up there playing his 5D chess, and is going to activate all the white hats within the government and ascend the United States into a new evolutionary level above human. Jenna Banana, how's it going? I recall reading the I Am books, kind of tough to find. Interesting, though. Yes, they are pretty interesting. Scotty boy, Saint Germain forgot to sign my check. That's right. He's going to give you all the... He's actually going to pay you in Starbucks gift cards. I hope you accept Starbucks gift cards, Scotty boy. That's the only way that you can get paid from Saint Germain. He doesn't use cash. Uses Starbucks gift cards. Maybe occasionally he'll give you a gift card to Target. Right? Possibly. Yeah, so I got a really good amount of shows coming up for you guys on Saturday. I got Shane the Ruiner back on. We're going to be talking about the Orion conspiracy on Saturday. Be on the lookout for that. And then on Tuesday, I got Scotty boy, Nina the Mystic. How's it going? Yeah, on Tuesday of next week, I have another show for you guys. It's going to be a really fun show with Ryan Gable. I was just on his show not too long ago, and we're going to bring him on over here on Tuesday. And then Thursday of next week will be UFO Doomsday Cults Part 9. And then on Saturday will be Wayne Steiger. So really amazing shows coming up for you guys. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button to help the channel and the algorithms. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well. Please share this out to people because I think it's important for people to know where these thoughts and these ideas and these ideologies actually come from. So got a lot of really great shows coming up for you guys. Nina the Mystic. I got Christopher John Bjorkness on this Sunday, 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST. Yes, go over there and check that out. Yes, Scotty Boy Saturday with Wayne next Saturday, though. This Saturday will be with Shane the Ruiner. Just thought I'd give you guys a heads up on the shows to come. But yes, guys, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. Please be sure to share it out. Support the show. PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description of this video. Always appreciate your guys' support. It helps me bring you guys amazing content like this and research and amazing shows with guests. So I will see you guys on Saturday with Shane the Ruiner. We will be covering the Orion conspiracy, which is very fascinating. We're going to figure out where a lot of these conspiracy theories come from that are being regurgitated in the community today with a fake documentary from 2008 called The Orion Conspiracy. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks so much, everyone.